Chapter 1. The Discovery. Amina lived in a small village on the edge of a sprawling forest. Her family was poor but content. Her days were spent helping her mother fetch water, tending to their tiny garden, and playing with her younger brother, Kofi. One afternoon, while searching for firewood in the forest, Amina stumbled upon a strange calabash lying under a baobab tree. It was smooth, polished, and gleamed in the sunlight as though it had been freshly crafted. When she picked it up, it felt warm, almost alive. As she turned it in her hands, she heard it speak. "Amina," it said in a soft, melodic voice, "I have been waiting for you." Amina nearly dropped it in fright. Who's there?" She stammered. "I am the calabash," it replied. "I can grant your heart's desires. But you must heed my warning. My powers come with consequences if misused." She stared at it, trembling. Was she losing her mind? "Why me?" "You are pure of heart," the calabash answered. Her curiosity overcame her fear. "If you can grant wishes, then I wish for enough food to feed my family tonight." The calabash hummed, and before her eyes, a basket of fresh yams, vegetables, and even a smoked fish appeared beside her. Amina gasped in amazement. "Remember my warning?" the calabash whispered before falling silent. Chapter 2. A Gift to Great. Amina carried the food home, her mind swirling with questions. She told her mother she'd been given the food by a kind stranger. That night, as they feasted on the unexpected bounty, her heart swelled with joy. But she couldn't keep the secret for long. The next day, she showed the calabash to Kofi. When it spoke to them, his eyes grew wide with wonder. "Let's tell Mama and Baba," Kofi said, but Amina hesitated. Something about the calabash's warning stayed with her. When their parents found out, however, they were overjoyed. "This is a blessing," her father declared. "We must use it to improve our lives." At first, the wishes were small: a new hoe for the garden, clean water from the well, warm blankets for cold nights. Each time, the calabash granted their desires without hesitation. But the more the family wished, the more they began to crave. Chapter 3. Greed Takes Root. One evening, Amina's father made a bold request. "Ask it for gold coins," he said. Amina hesitated. "The calabash warned us about greed." "Don't be foolish, child," her father replied. "We could buy a bigger house, better clothes, send you and Kofi to school." Reluctantly, Amina made the wish. The calabash granted it, filling their small home with piles of glittering coins. For a while, their lives seemed perfect. They moved into a larger house, bought fine clothes, and hosted lavish feasts. But the village soon noticed their sudden wealth. Neighbors whispered, some grew envious, and others came begging for help. Amina's father refused them, fearing they would take too much. The family, once humble and kind, began to change. Chapter 4. The Consequences Begin. The first sign of trouble came when their crops withered overnight. Despite their wealth, they couldn't eat gold. The calabash granted food when asked, but it tasted bland, unnatural. Then, Kofi fell ill with a mysterious fever. The local healer couldn't help him, and no amount of wealth could buy a cure. Amina begged the calabash to heal him, but its response chilled her. "I warned you. The balance has been disturbed." "What balance?" she cried. "The more you take, the greater the cost. Your family's greed has upset the harmony of the world." Amina realized too late that the calabash's power wasn't a gift, it was a test. Chapter 5. Desperation and Sacrifice. As her family spiraled into despair, her father demanded more wishes, hoping to undo the damage. Amina refused. "We've taken enough, you ungrateful child," he roared. "This calabash is our salvation." He grabbed it from her hands and made another wish for endless riches. The calabash glowed brightly, and a flood of gold coins poured out, burying the room in shimmering metal. But with it came a terrible roar, as though the earth itself was angry. The house shook, and cracks split the walls. The family fled, leaving their once treasured calabash behind. Chapter 6. Amina's Final Choice. Homeless and broken, Amina sought out the baobab tree where she had found the calabash. She placed it at the base of the tree and whispered, "I'm sorry, we didn't listen." The calabash spoke one last time. "To restore the balance, you must give up everything it gave you." Amina hesitated, thinking of her family, their wealth, and the comforts they had come to rely on. But then she thought of Kofi, still burning with fever. "I'll do it," she said. The calabash glowed softly. In an instant, everything it had granted disappeared: the gold, the house, the food. Even the memories of the villagers who had envied them were erased. Amina returned home to find Kofi smiling, his fever gone. Her family, though saddened by their loss, was alive and together. Epilogue. A lesson learned. The family rebuilt their lives, this time with hard work and gratitude. Amina often thought about the calabash and the lesson it had taught her, that true happiness comes not from wishes, but from the love and effort shared with those you hold dear. As for the calabash, it remained under the baobab tree, waiting for the next soul to test its power and their heart.